Hi, my name is Edwin and I'm a proud owner of a 2021 Nissan Micra and a big fan of Nissan as a brand. So in this video, I will share with you on how much it costs to maintain a Nissan. I bought this car in November 2021. Currently, it's March 2024. And here is how much I've spent to keep this car on the road. That is next on Loving Cars. Yeah, my name is Edwin, and this is Loving Cars. The fact that you're still here shows that you love Nissan as a brand, even though it might be hard for you to admit that. And secondly, you like to learn more about cars, and which is why I will teach you a little bit on the cost of ownership when it comes to Nissan as a brand. And this is a true reflection because it comes to an owner himself. This car has only been serviced by a Nissan dealer, and it's only been touched by a Nissan dealer and no one else. So this is how much it costs to maintain and to keep your lovely Micra on the road. So I bought this car in 2021, November, and the service that was carried out, and it was a demo, so it had already traveled more than 15,000 kilometers. It was at 22,000 kilometers actually, as a matter of fact. So the first service which was carried out was a 15,000 kilometer service, which costed it around 1,554 cents, according to the piece of paper that I'm holding here, which is the invoice from Nissan. As a matter of fact, I keep everything on record, and I've created a little file for all the records when it comes to maintaining this car. So for the first year, the service is a little bit cheap because they only changed the oil and the oil filter. They didn't touch the air filter, they didn't touch the cabin filter, and they didn't touch the spark plugs because those are not touched under minor service. Minor service is typically just an oil change. So the first 15,000 was pretty much cheap. Right. And out of the 15,000 kilometer service was the 30,000 kilometer service, which is a major service, which I actually did in 2022, by the way. So they changed the oil itself, they changed the oil ring or the crusher ring, they changed the oil filter, they changed the spark plugs, they changed the air filter, they changed the cabin air filter, which is found in the cabin inside the car. Others call it a pollen filter, so they actually changed that. And all in all, that came at a cost of 4,204 rand and 56 cents. It was covered by a service plan. In that same 30,000 kilometer service, Nissan recommended that I should change the wiper blades and the rear wiper blade and a pair of discs, which in total would have costed me 3,792. And I said, no thank you. Actually, it was not disc, it was pads. They said my pads were worn out, and actually they did indicate it on this little diagram sheet right here. If you can check, the discs were fine, 4 millimeters, but the pads, well, the pads were bad. See, less than 3 millimeters, which was actually true. The pads were worn out. So in order to change the brake pads and the two wiper blades at the front and the back one, it will come at a total cost of 3,792 rand. And I happily declined, and I said, no, Nissan, I would rather drive around with squeaky brakes and poor performing wipers than to pay a hefty 3,792 rand. That is bogus. It's unheard of. I said no. After doing that, I went straight to Midas, bought a pair of wiper blades. The two front one costed me 150 rands. They fitted in perfectly and they did a great job. I bought cheap brake pads, which was a mistake. Actually, I shouldn't have done that. I think that those ones are made in India. I bought them at AutoZone. Those pads worked pretty fine, but they were gorging my discs, which made me pay a little bit more, and we'll find out in the next service. So the next service was a 45,000 kilometer service. So in a 45,000 kilometer service is the same as a 15,000 kilometer service because they just do an oil change, but this time it's a little bit more expensive because they change an air filter. So an air filter will make your service more expensive, jump from 1,500 to what they did when you had a 15,000 kilometer service to 2,251 rand, just because they changed an air filter. Make that make sense. So this is what they changed in my 45,000 kilometer service. They changed the oil, they changed the seal, they use 5W13 Nissan genuine oil, and they changed the air filter. And consumables. Do you know what the consumables are? Your washer fluid, windscreen washer fluid, maybe if your coolant is a little bit low, they top it up. If your brake fluid clutch is a little low, they top it up. Those are the consumables. So in total, that would come at a cost of 2,251 Rand and 84 cents. Because it was a 45,000 kilometer service, it was still covered under a service plan. So I didn't pay a cent when it comes to that. But there are other components that needed to be replaced, which were not part of the service, but part of the warranty, which I will tell you. And you will not believe how much it costed in order to fit or fix those particular things. Oh, by the way, before I forgot, because I used ridiculous cheap brake pads from a ridiculous brand I shouldn't have used, that came at a cost because my discs were worn, so I had to change them. So this is what Nissan actually recommended me to do, and how much they would charge me in order to change the two front brake discs and the brake pads, and also the belly panel, which is the plastic undercover of the engine, together with the wiper blades. You know, they like putting in wiper blades. So I will show you, because if I say it with my mouth, it will look like I'm gaslighting them. I will show you how much they had charged me in order to fix all of those things, which were not covered by warranty, by the way. Not warranty, I mean service plan. So here is your service plan. Service plan, work requested 45,000 kilometers carried out. 45,000. So that's the service. That's everything that they actually changed. Element filter, CO, Nissan genuine oil, 5W consumables. And then when you come this way, you can see that it did at a total cost of 2,551 and 84 cents. I didn't lie when it comes to that. But they said, Mensa Makamo, after going through your car, we found a few things that needed to be changed. One was the clip trim. I don't know what that is. Each 7 of them, or the clip trims are the little plastic bolts that clipped under the belly panel of the car that is underneath the car that covers the engine. So those ones are 7 of them. Apparently they got lost, and I understand they got ripped off because when I drive home, it's in a gravel road, put this car in tough conditions, it rips off the belly panel and those things. So I was holding, the belly panel was basically being held up by cable ties and some wires. Just a man-made shift to get around. So, and the rotor discs, brakes, 2 of them, each would cost 2,861. So it would be 5,633. I don't know how they come up with such calculations, but that's how it would be if I would buy 2 of them from them. And the battery, which was covered under warranty, they had to replace that one, of course. So would cost 2,816 and 89 cents. And the labor for front discs, that's how much they cost. They charge, in the labor for fitting the belly panel. And the belly cover actually itself is 2,887. So all in all, in total, these things would cost me a fortune of 16,049 cents and 86 cents. 49 Rand and 86 cents. So I, as you know me, said, no. I understand that my belly panel is actually ripped off and it's coming loose, but I wouldn't mind driving around with a car without a belly panel. I mean, it doesn't affect anything. You understand? Unless you're driving into deep mud and puddles of water, which most of the time I don't. So I said no. I would buy my own disc, by the way, and I will buy my own pads and I will replace it. So I went in to Midas, bought the discs and the pads. This time I bought Safeline discs, and they're very good. They don't eat your discs. They perform pretty well. So I fitted them. It costed me 384 rand to fit them, and in total 1,750 for both the brakes, brake discs and the pads. So that's how much I spent when it comes to maintaining the brakes. So the belly panel, if you may ask, I'm still holding it with some wires and some cable ties, because as long as it's still hanging and on there, so there's no need for me to change it.